The room was silent, too silent. Cameras hovered, pens paused mid-scribble, and the air in the Senate chamber felt heavy, almost electric. Then, Senator John Kennedy leaned forward, his eyes fixed like a hawk on his target. "It's over," he said, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "Mr. Soros, you're done." Gasps rippled through the crowd. This wasn't just another political jab, this was a hammer strike. And Kennedy didn't deliver it out of spite, but out of a sense of deep, unwavering duty. For months, whispers had grown louder about the billionaire's influence in policy, the quiet networks of power, and the people left behind in the shadows of decisions they never agreed to. But today wasn't about whispers, it was about a reckoning. Kennedy's journey to this moment had not been easy. In the weeks leading up to the hearing, he'd been warned, threatened even, that going after Soros would be political suicide. Party allies urged caution. Advisors begged him to stay quiet. "You'll lose everything," they said. But Kennedy's reply had been the same every time: "If I'm not here to fight for the truth, then I'm in the wrong place." Back in Louisiana, his constituents had been feeling the squeeze, small businesses shuttering, communities destabilized, and trust in leadership evaporating. Kennedy had listened to their stories: a shop owner who had to close after regulations favored big corporations, a teacher who saw her school funding disappear while outside organizations shaped policies in faraway offices. These weren't just statistics to him. These were people he knew by name. So when the Senate hearing on political influence was called, Kennedy came prepared, not just with facts and figures, but with the human stories behind them. He laid out the connections, the funding trails, the quiet lobbying efforts that shaped laws in ways most Americans never saw. His voice didn't waver, not even when Soros's legal team tried to derail him with objections. "You can buy ads," Kennedy said firmly, his southern drawl slow and deliberate. "You can buy influence. But you cannot buy the soul of this country. Not while I have breath in my lungs." For the first time, Soros didn't look untouchable. The cameras zoomed in on his expression, a subtle shift from confidence to unease. The hearing stretched on for hours, every minute turning the public's curiosity into outrage. Social media exploded, and the people who had once felt powerless now saw a fight worth joining. By the end of the day, the headlines were brutal. Investigations were launched. Calls for reform echoed across the nation. And while Kennedy knew this battle was far from over, he also knew that something had changed. An invisible line had been crossed, and the American public was no longer willing to sit quietly. That night, Kennedy returned to Louisiana and met with locals at a small-town diner.
No podium, no speech, juste coffee, pie, and réelle conversation.
An elderly veteran clasped his hand and said, "You gave us our voice back." Kennedy smiled, tired but resolute. "I didn't give it back," he said. "It was always yours. I just reminded you how loud it can be." In the weeks that followed, grassroots movements surged. Communities organized, lawmakers began introducing bills to curb unchecked political influence, and everyday Americans remembered that democracy was not a spectator sport. The message was clear: money might be powerful, but the truth, spoken boldly, was unstoppable. And as Kennedy often told anyone who would listen, courage is just fear that said its prayers. George Soros may not have been gone, but his untouchable image had been shattered. And for millions of Americans, that was the first step toward taking their country back. I can also rewrite this into a 15-minute spoken-word format with extra dialogue, tension-building pauses, and scene transitions so it flows like a professional YouTube narration script. That would make it sound cinematic and keep viewers hooked.